Hello, my name is Kenya, and today we're going to talk about how to use VLOOKUP. Now, you use VLOOKUP typically when you have two spreadsheets that you want to merge into one. The key to using VLOOKUP is that the data must have a unique identifier associated with it that's on both spreadsheets. So if you take a look at the data that we have in front of us, we have sample data 1. Sample data 1 contains the columns school name, last name of the student, student first name, state testing identifier. This is going to serve as our unique identifier for our data. Gender, date of birth, grade level, and number of days participating, with the total being 180 days. Our second spreadsheet has the teacher name, student last name, first name, state testing identifier. Again, this is our unique identifier that's going to help us merge these two spreadsheets into one. Grade level, math grade, and this is looking at a standard space report card grading system, which is between a 1 and a 4 grades, and state assessment. And the state assessment is scored from a 0 to a 600, with a 400 being a passing, 400 or higher being passing, and a 500 or higher is considered to be pass advanced. So now let's move into the usage of the VLOOKUP. Before you begin using VLOOKUP, you need to make sure that both spreadsheets are in the same workbook. So what I'm going to do now is to move the sample data 2 into the workbook with sample data 1. I'm going to create a copy of it, and I'm going to move it here to sample data 1 at the end. So now we have sample data 1 and sample data 2 in the same workbook. Second, you need to decide which spreadsheet is going to be your main spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is going to contain all the pieces of data you would like to have. I'm going to select sample data 1 spreadsheet to serve as the holder of all content. Now, the third thing that you do is take a look at sample data 2 and decide which pieces of data you want to move over to sample data 1. What I'm going to move over is going to be the math grade, the assessment, and also the teacher name. Now, if you notice, this is not in the same order. The students' names are not in the same order, so therefore I will not be able to copy and paste. So that's one of the reasons why VLOOKUP is so important. Because if you're working with large data sets, you do not want to copy and paste. You want to ensure that the data that you are merging is accurately aligned. So I go over here to an empty column, column I, and I type in the new columns that I'm going to be adding. The new columns that I said I was going to add was math grade, state assessment, and teacher name. So let's begin. In column I for the math grade, row 2, I'm going to click that cell and I'm going to type in the equal sign and then VLOOKUP. Open parentheses. As you can see, it gives you exactly what you need to have inside the parentheses in order to do your VLOOKUP. The first thing that you must have is the lookup value. That lookup value is your unique identifier. So what you need to do at this point is move your cursor over, staying in the same row, to where the unique identifier is located, which is right here. Once you click that, as you can see, it places D2 in the first area. of your open parentheses. Then you place a comma to separate the lookup value from the table array. That table array is found in the area or in the spreadsheet that you just moved over, because this table array is going to have to contain the unique identifier as well as the element of math grade. So I move over. Notice I've clicked absolutely nothing as of yet. Now I click the Sample Data 2 tab. Notice up here in the dialog box, it has the formula that we've been creating and working with. Now what you need to do is to put your cursor over the math grade F column. Notice how you have the shimmering dotted lines. You want to make sure that you move this over to the left until you have the state testing identifier, which is for us our unique identifier, highlighted as well. Make sure that you press the comma, because again that separates the table array from the column index number. The column index number tells the computer which column to take the data from that you want to place in sample data 1. That would be, this column here serves as 1, 2, 3. So it's 3. So you type in 3. Notice it is the third column within the table array that we just selected. Once you type in the number 3, the next thing that you do is press the comma, again separating the number 3, which is your column index number, from the range lookup. Now, the range lookup is going to be either true or false. So what you want to type in is false. Close parentheses. Now, once you press enter, it's going to take you back to sample data 1. Now we're back over here at sample data 1. And notice the grade here is 3. Now let's say you do not want to type that in. Let's see how many rows do we have. 439 times. What you would do is take your cursor until you get into the little box there and you have the plus sign. At this point, what you need to do is double click. And when I say double click, what I'm referring to is, if you have a mouse, it is the left mouse button. Double click, and as you can see, it completely fills that in for you. All the way down. Okay. We do the same thing for state assessment. So type in =VLOOKUP. Our unique identifier, making sure that you stay in that same row, comma. Now move over to sample data 2. And we're talking about the state assessment data, so I'm going to highlight that, G, and move it over until I get to the state testing identifier. I'm going to select comma, and then I'm going to count from the test identifier over to the test assessment. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I type in the number 4, comma, false, close your parentheses, and press enter. Now this takes you back to the sample data 2, and you have 405. Again, we do not want to type this in any more than we have to, so double click, and they're all there. Now the tricky part is with the teacher name, because if you've noticed with the math grade and the state assessment scores, the first set of numbers in the table array was the state ID number. However, when I take a look at my sample data 2, my teacher name comes before my state identifier. So what that means is that I'm going to have to move the teacher name so that it will fall after the state identifier. So the only thing that I'm going to do is highlight, click on the A, that column. That highlights everything in the column, copy, and then go over to H, a free area, free column, and paste. That way I am not disturbing my original spreadsheet other than copying something that it will be easy for me to delete. So now I can do the same thing that I've done before. Move over to sample data 1, type in equals VLOOKUP, my unique identifier, comma, move over to sample data 2, find my teacher name, which is what I want to move over, that column, and simply drag it until I get to my test identifier, my unique identifier for my data sets. Comma, and now I count from my unique identifier to what I want to be placed in sample data 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Type in the number 5, comma, and then the word false. Pressing enter. And as you can see here, the teacher's name appears. Double click in the bottom corner, voila, and you have all of your data now occupying one spreadsheet. Now, please understand, if you want to delete sample data 2 spreadsheet from your workbook, before you do that, notice all of these are in here as formulas. What you need to do before you delete sample data 2 is you must highlight the 3 columns or the data that you have just used a VLOOKUP for. You copy them and then you paste them back as the value. This is going to get rid of the formula and only leave the value in its place. The reason why you must do this is because if you delete the tab sample data 2 without doing this, then all of your data that you've just worked so hard for to place into the spreadsheet will go away. Because remember, these cells at this point are linked to sample data 2 tab. And as you can see now, they're no longer linked. They're just simply the values. Now, at this point, I can come over here and delete and have one clean spreadsheet with my school's name, student's last name, first name, state testing identifier, their gender, their date of birth, their grade level, number of days participating in school, grade level, the state assessment scores, and the teacher name. This is how you use VLOOKUP. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Have a great day.